Women naturally have some testosterone in their bodies, but men have 10 times as much, and some men have more than others. But does it really matter what your level is? Take a look at these athletes. They're all highly trained 100-meter specialists and about the same age. But if they raced, could you tell just by looking at them who'd win? Well, this man, Dr. John Manning, says he can, just by measuring their fingers. And that's because testosterone levels and finger lengths are intimately linked.
We've known for a long time that there's a sex difference in the fingers. It's quite a subtle difference, and in general people don't talk about it and don't know about it even.
It starts in the womb. Hormones rush through the developing embryo, building and shaping the body, including the fingers. And the effects can be seen years later. Compare the hand of the man on the left with that of the woman on the right. The man's ring finger is longer than his index finger. In the case of the woman, it's the opposite. The index finger is longer than the ring finger.
We think that the length of the ring finger is a direct indicator of the amount of testosterone one is exposed to in utero, and the length of the index finger indicates the amount of estrogen you've been exposed to in utero. So it's the relative lengths of these two fingers that are important. If you've got a longer ring finger than your index finger, you have been exposed to high testosterone. If you've got a longer index finger than ring finger, you've been exposed to low testosterone and high estrogen.
Dr. Manning is one of the world's leading experts on testosterone. In the course of his investigations, he's worked both with infertile men and with professional footballers. He believes prenatal testosterone plays a big part in determining future athletic performance.
Okay, lads, all I'm going to do is measure your fingers on your left hand and your right hand.
But he's never put his considerable reputation on the line by trying to predict the result of a race between athletes he's never met or seen run.
If I could have your right hand first. But this is a high-risk business. I think, you know, it would be nice to have 10 races with 10 different groups of athletes, and I think we would probably be able to predict sort of 8 out of the 10 winners of those 10 races. One race is highly chancy, but I'll give it a go.
So why should it work? Well, testosterone helps develop the heart and lungs, the engine of any athlete. Crudely speaking, the bigger the hit of testosterone in the womb, the greater the physical potential of the fetus. It's obviously impossible to say with any certainty how much testosterone these men were exposed to when in their mother's wombs. Instead, Dr. Manning is using their fingers as a guide to the size of their in utero hit. The runners and their coach aren't entirely convinced.
Don't think it's going to work. Not confident at all about it.
We're all probably a bit sceptical about it, but I mean, it's got undue possibilities if there's something in it.
Cannot see it. Why your hand measurements would predict how fast you run. Can't see any connection between the two.
While the lads get ready to run, Dr. Manning finds a quiet corner to make his calculations. So has he found a winner?
These are 5 very, very fine young men. I mean, they're excellent athletes, and they've all had quite high testosterone levels before birth, as one would expect. But there are clear differences between them.
As far as he's concerned, these are the winning fingers. They belong to Tim Abbey. And you can see the difference between his ring finger and his index finger is quite marked. Compare his hand to one of the other runners. This is Ian Death's hand, and the difference is obvious.
Tim's got a very low ratio and I think has tremendous potential. I think he's a very, very fast runner, so I'd go for Tim.
As they prepare to race, none of the athletes know Dr. Manning's selection.
So, the moment of truth. They line up from the left. In lane 1, it's Lawrence Obi. In lane 2, it's Jonathan Regis. 3 is Ian Death. 4, James Ellington. And in 5, Dr. Manning's selection, Tim Abeyu. And Abeyu's got an absolute flyer. He's stormed out of the blocks.
Come on, Tim.
Dr. Manning looks like he's picked a winner here, but Obey in lane 1 is fighting back, but the big man in lane 5 is pouring it on, and Abeyu's got too much, and Abeyu wins.
Wow.
So the prediction was spot on, which was a huge relief for Dr. Manning.
Well, I was very, very pleased to see Tim go across that line first, and in great style as well.
Be interested to know further research on sort of elite athletes at the very top of their game, if the same principle applies.
Dr. Manning is conducting similar research with the British Ski Federation, helping to select potential downhill champions.
Men are engineered in such a way as to be able to compete physically against other men. So the more testosterone a fetus has, a male fetus has, the more efficient his cardiovascular system is going to be after birth. If you don't get exposure early and to high amounts of testosterone, then it will affect your physical competitive abilities later in life.